Now, before anything else, most people initially judge a smartphone based on its design. So just like in real life, something appealing to the eyes tend to evoke favorable opinions about them. However, first impressions are without question extremely important, so that's why having a good design is the foundation to everything else. Through the years, HTC has been continually praised for the impressive designs that accompany its range of smartphones. And even though they've fallen back in terms of market share in the last few years, the philosophy they've established has continued to resonate. For this piece, we're going to take a quick look back at the evolution of HTC's smartphone designs. Now that they've been around for quite a long time and had a prestigious history in design, it's really tough to go through every single pinnacle or monumental device that radically changed their identity. So we're just going to simply skim through some of the best highlights through the years. Back during the early 2000s, many of HTC's smartphones were white-labeled products, often being rebranded after the respective carriers that were selling its phones. Take the HTC Apache for example, which was rebranded as the Sprint PPC 6700, and on Verizon, it was the XV 6700. The designs of these early Windows mobile smartphones were uninspiring to say the least. Not only were they fashioned after PDA designs, but their silver plastic bodies seemed like a throwback to the antiquated boxy designs of PCs throughout the 1990s. Through the mid-2000s, smartphones like the HTC Wizard, Titan, and P3600 Trinity featured designs that followed after this practice. During an era dominated mostly by flip phones, the only reason why HTC's design stood out from the pack was because of their brick-like sizes and large touchscreens. Things really began to change with HTC's design language with the release of the HTC Touch in 2007. It offered a totally new design language that made consumers take notice. It simplified things with fewer buttons and going after that all-touch implementation. On top of that, this is also when we began to see a shift. Gone was the ghastly silver plastic that dominated many of HTC's early smartphones, replaced with other materials that were more inviting, like the soft touch matte finish of the HTC Touch. Not only that, but now its phones were slimmer, more compact in size. And this new design language flourished throughout 2007, when subsequent phones like the HTC Touch Dual, the Touch Cruise, and the HTC Phoebus, also known as the T-Mobile Shadow, all followed suit. HTC's brand recognition was climbing steadily by the time 2008 came around, because this was arguably the turning point for when we all began to regard HTC as a premier designer. The term industrial design entered our vocabulary thanks in part to a couple of new HTC smartphones introduced in 2008, the HTC Touch Diamond and the HTC Touch Pro. These were still running Windows Mobile, but their designs were unbelievable because they were original and unlike anything else seen during the time. These industrial designs featured reflective finishes, gunmetal frames, and angular cutouts that simply made them stunning, exuding a new benchmark of premium design that was largely absent in other phones. Interestingly enough, HTC's progress in design didn't necessarily carry over when they joined the Open Handset Alliance. Even though the T-Mobile G1 and subsequently the HTC Magic helped to establish HTC's presence in Google's brand new Android platform during 2008 and 2009, it could be argued that the designs were rather dull in comparison to the stuff they were putting out with its last line of Windows Mobile powered smartphones. These new Android phones weren't particularly cutting edge or stylish with their designs, but rather benign instead. Then again, it's interesting to see HTC almost stepping backwards with the design of these two phones. But a lot of people suggested they didn't want to take away the star of the show, which was Google's Android operating system. While those Android smartphones were a stark departure, the Windows Mobile smartphones that HTC released under its umbrella during 2008 and 2009 continued to push the boundaries. Successive devices like the HTC Diamond 2 and the HTC Touch Pro 2 showed iterative growth within its industrial design philosophy. Despite the impending death of Microsoft's aging mobile operating system, HTC saved one of its best all-time greatest design phones for the platform, and that's the HTC HD2. Yes, it was a behemoth of a phone, dwarfing pretty much everything else with its immense size, but its curved chassis and the combination of soft touch matte plastic and a metallic cover definitely added to its premium look and feel. Having that sense of sophistication, the HD2 helped to end HTC's run with Microsoft's platform on a high note. While HTC's first two Android-powered smartphones didn't necessarily convey the company's signature design philosophies that we saw with its last few Windows Mobile smartphones, that all changed with the introduction of its third Android effort. Arriving in the summer of 2009, the HTC Hero brought on some of the familiar industrial design characteristics that the company had been known for. And you know what? It was every bit of a Hero device, distinguishable and unique for its industrial design, Teflon coating, and its protruding chin. The following year, in 2010, we saw yet another milestone with HTC with the Google Nexus 1. Although it ditched the angular cutouts of its previous offerings, the curvier-looking chassis was comprised out of a metallic frame and two large rubbery plastic surfaces. Using this design language as a blueprint, it eventually became the signature style we saw tweaked a little bit in other devices throughout 2010, like the HTC Desire, the HTC Smart, the Evo 4G, Droid Incredible, and the Wildfire, to name a few. During this period as well, we eventually got a successor to the Hero, the aluminum-bodied HTC Legend. Even more minimalist in its design, it clearly borrowed some of the design traits brought on by the Google Nexus 1. The next major design evolution we saw from HTC came in 2013 when polycarbonate became the material of choice for its flagship smartphone in the HTC One X. While it felt incredibly solid for a phone employing plastic, it was a stark roundabout from the metal-cladded bodies that the company previously leveraged. Naturally, this new design language became the standard for HTC's other smartphones in 2013, including the HTC Evo 4G LTE, the Desire V, Desire X, the One X Plus, and the One VX. HTC might have stuck with the One moniker for some time, but there was really one that caused the biggest stir with its design, and that happened to be the following year, as the HTC One M7 came to light in 2014, showing off an unprecedented design that many consider to be one of the best designed phones of all time. Highly regarded as a landmark moment in design, the HTC One M7 featured a symmetrical design with its aluminum plates, the chamfered edges, and slightly curved back. Everything about the design was astounding, which was yet another testament to the ingenuity of HTC's designers. It wasn't surprised that its premium design language extended to other handsets in its fold, such as the HTC One Mini and the One Max. With the next two successors, the M8 and M9 respectively, they evolved the design established by the M7 by just a small degree. Overall though, these metal constructed phones were just iterative, changing up just a few things, but there was nothing terribly drastic about them. Just because HTC was going after premium qualities with its flagships, that didn't prevent them from experimenting with other materials in its other line of smartphones. The Desire line, in fact, saw a radical change during 2013, starting with devices like the Desire 600, which featured an all-plastic construction. Additional phones in the line like the Desire 700, the 816, and 820 all followed this new implementation. Even though they weren't as premium with their designs, there was a charming quality to them that allowed them to attract a younger audience. A common complaint from critics about HTC's design is that they lack any sort of water-resistant qualities. But eventually we got that with the HTC Butterfly 2, which was an offset variant of the M8. This all-matte polycarbonate phone might not be remembered as much, but it's still notable for bringing water resistance to HTC's designs. Dropping the 1 from the name, the shortened HTC 10 didn't disappoint to deliver yet another outstanding and superb design, one that was largely underappreciated due to HTC's position in the space. And as it turned out, it was going to be the last flagship in its stable to don the all-metal construction. It followed its predecessors with an all-aluminum body accompanied with chamfered edges on the back. When we look back at where HTC started with its Android smartphones to what they delivered in 2016 with the HTC 10, two common themes kept on recurring with its major phones. One was the decision to go with metal, giving its phones the premium quality to stand out, and the second, they featured meticulous industrial designs that were never replicated by the competition, which made them ultimately so unique in the space. And that's probably why HTC's designs were frequently acclaimed. In 2017, smartphone designs in general shifted to a glass meets metal construction, something that was adopted by many of the big players in the space, and naturally HTC jumped on the trend as well with the arrival of the HTC U Ultra. It was an obnoxiously large phone featuring a brand new glass and metal design While the flashy and piercing color made the phone radiate at certain angles, it was largely lamented for its wasted space. For something so large and spacious, it lacked a headphone jack and packed a skimpy 3000 mAh battery. The subsequent phones after that didn't change too much. You had the HTC U11 and after that the HTC U11 Plus. The designs weren't as original than what we've gotten in the past from the company, seeing that they look very much like its contemporaries. All in all, they just kept on going with the trend that was running its course during the time. And for the time being, it appears as though that this is the format that HTC will be utilizing for now. But you never know, they might surprise us with something different. And that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this look back at the evolution of HTC smartphone designs. If you want to learn more about anything I talk about in this video, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. This is John B, signing off.